You set foot on foreign soil. Only this land isn't ruled by any country or government. In this land we celebrate music. In this land we celebrate games. In this land we celebrate those who compose video game music. Welcome to the VGMbassy. Welcome and thanks for tuning in to another episode of the VGMbassy. This is a show centered around video game music and the amazing online community of fans and podcasters that enjoy it. My name's Ed, and in each episode I'll take the role of Prime VGM Minister and invite a guest VG Ambassador or two onto the show to share with us their own video game music culture. Or I may share a part of my culture on a solo show. Merry winter, everyone. It's December. Coming up towards the new year, coming up towards Christmas, at the time of this release. Anyway, and traditionally at the VGMbassy, we gather around with our buds, Joe and Todd, and share some awesome winter VGM. Now, in the past, we've done patron submissions, and that was a lot of fun. This time, we've brought our own music to share because I do want to do another patron submission show in the near future, but I want to talk about with you guys, you patrons, what kind of theme we might want to do. So we'll start some discussions going on the Patreon feed and on the Discord channel about another patron submission episode. I think that'll be a lot of fun. We'll just roll with that. So Joe and Todd, how are you guys doing today?
Hey man, doing good. Happy it's the weekend. We're recording on a Friday night and it's almost Christmas, so I'm feeling merry and jolly.
Awesome.
I echo Joe's sentiment.
Very good. We've got
he says with complete believability and enthusiasm.
We've got the VGMbassy basement slightly decorated for the festive occasion. Got some lights up, some holly.
Watch out for that mistletoe.
Yep, got some. I've already kissed Joe 3 times, so.
But he won't move.
I'm going for 69 by the end of the night. 69 kisses.
Nice.
But we got some Christmas cookies and some warm beverages, so we are in the spirit. If it wasn't so friggin' rainy outside, we might be more in the spirit weather-wise.
Yeah,
but
man, where's all the snow?
I don't know, but frankly, I'm okay with it for now. We had a little bit of a dusting, and it melted by noon, which is my favorite kind of snow, so
amen.
We'll deal with that. So I heard you guys had trouble narrowing down your Christmas picks, so I'm expecting some good music from you guys.
Oh, you're going to get them. I picked out, I'll say, probably like 10 that I really wanted to play and narrowed it down to the 3 that you forced me to. And I didn't even include my all-time favorite song, which happens to be a winter song, the intro theme from Final Fantasy VI, where they're walking through the snowfields.
Oh, yeah.
That's just one of my all-time favorite tracks, and I figured that was probably a little too common, and everyone's already heard it a million times, so I went with some lesser-known things that I still think are going to be really enjoyable.
Yeah, I like to share the more lesser-known stuff, too. How about you, Todd?
I started going through like all the games that I've played in the last year or so and looking through their soundtracks for titles that sounded Christmassy or cold or what have you. Mm-hmm. And so, a lot of stuff hit the cutting room floor, as it were, but I think I've got some good ones.
Yeah, I've as I was putting the show together, I was listening to the music you guys have picked, and I love every single piece, so I think this is going to be a really good show to listen to, really good show to put you guys in the mood. Personally, I was looking at a lot of like old Amiga, Commodore 64, like British microcomputer games,
because you're Ed.
Because I'm Ed, and people just don't share a lot of that on other podcasts, and it turns out that like winter and or holiday themed games from that era, or at least on those systems, they all just kind of co-opt like Jingle Bells or Silent Night or whatever and just turn them into chiptune. And I was like, I wanted something wintry that isn't just another Christmas song turned into a VGM piece. So I went with some great original tunes from more modern systems, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun as well. I don't really have much top of the show business other than the new patron submission show, which, like I said, we'll talk about in the future. So, Joe, let's start off with you since you're at the top of the list. What's your first track for the night?
You got it. My first track tonight is from CrossCode, released on everything back in 2020. The name of the track is Bergen Trail. It is composed by Dennis Akbalut.
Be right back.
And we're back. That was Bergen Trail from CrossCode, released back in 2020 for, well, basically everything. Composed by Dennis Akbalut. This track plays in, as you might guess, a snowy mountain-themed level in the game. CrossCode is an action RPG in SNES-style graphics, pixel art graphics, and it's a blast. I played it when it first came out a couple years ago. Enjoyed it, but I found it to be too difficult for me at the time. But I was telling the guys as the song was playing, I might need to give it another try, because every time I hear a track from it or I see a clip from it, I go, that was really good. I need to try that one again.
Yeah, it sounds definitely SNES to me for sure. Like, I got big Final Fantasy Secret of Mana vibes from the instruments they were using, as well as the composition style too. It felt like a snowy town in a square RPG.
You're going through a mountain pass and it's snowy and all the bad guys are like snow and ice themed and have snow and ice, attacks. It's basically exactly what you would expect. But this game is really solid, and I highly recommend it to everyone to give it a shot. If you like action RPGs, the closest comparable I'd be able to give for it would be, as you said, Secret of Mana. Not just in terms of the soundtrack, but in terms of the action RPG gameplay style to it as well.
Okay.
Although it's much more solid than I think Secret of Mana ever was in terms of the production. Like the attacking and the defending and the different moves that you do feel a lot more fair than they ever did in Secret of Mana.
Okay, I'm a huge Secret of Mana fan, so that's a very good recommendation. So I might end up trying this one out. You said you played this one too, Todd?
Yeah, Joe basically forced it on me when he gave up on it. He was like, "You're gonna like this game. You play this now," and so I did, and I loved it. Yeah, I would say that it's a really good mix of Secret of Mana and like Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. I think it pulls elements from both games, but definitely Secret of Mana is a good comparison.
Sweet, that's good. I haven't heard much about this composer, Dennis Akbalut. This is like the only, I guess, retail game that he's ever composed for, at least so far. I mean, the game was only released in 2020. But there's an interview that I found with him on WHRB, which is, I guess, Harvard University's public radio. And if you Google his name, it's like one of the first things that pop up. So you can actually listen to the interview with him. But he says he got his start composing for German RPG Maker RPGs. Basically, like there's a website you can just submit music to, and so he was doing music for that. and how much of the music was composed with sound libraries that he bought on eBay. So he was like really just getting his start. And this is really competent composition for somebody who's like doesn't have a lot of experience at all in the industry. So I'm kind of looking forward to see if he comes up with any other, games and what they sound like going forward.
I hope so. This entire soundtrack is solid, and it's worth just listening to, even if you don't or haven't played the game yet.
Cool. Yeah, and CrossCode got good reviews. I think it sold pretty well, so maybe they're looking at a sequel at some point.
It was one that, even though I wasn't able to get very far in the game, I'm glad I decided to buy it physical for Switch.
Sweet. All right, let's check that one out later. Stepping a little bit away from RPGs, Todd, what's first on your list?
My first track is Festive Fairground. This is from Overcooked 2, the Winter Wonderland DLC. This was released not just on everything, but beyond everything. Like, I was looking at the list of things that this was released on, and it's, all of the standard stuff. Google Stadia, something I've never heard of, Linux, basically, actually everything.
Yeah.
In 2018, composers Ollie Wood and Danny Hay.
Danny Hay!
Welcome back. That was Festive Fairground from Overcooked 2, the Winter Wonderland DLC, released on everything in 2018. Composers Ollie Wood and Danny Hay, a plucky little track from a plucky little game.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. It had a really nice kind of energetic bounce to it, and I know this game...
It goes very well with the game.
Yeah, you gotta
all
keep on your
the
toes.
music in this game goes very well with like how the game plays, and it fits very well. The composers did an excellent job.
A light, happy, festive tune to listen to as you murder the person you're sitting next to on the couch.
Sometimes it can get that way. Yeah, the game can be frustrating. My wife and I recently played it thanks to PlayStation Plus Extra. It's available on that the all-you-can-eat version, which is both major release games and all of the DLC that they released for the second
it's like
one.
the deluxe pack.
Yeah, it's like everything. So we've been going through that. We've finished the game largely, but we're trying to 3-star all of the levels, and so we're working on the DLC now. We're just about done with it, but it's
Sweet.
It's been fun.
It's cool. I like how, Joe, you noticed they had little bells and like wintry, like just add that to a song and suddenly it's winter and there you go. I mean, not that the song wasn't wintry, I guess. It felt like a holiday at a jazz club or something like that.
I wonder if you could test the limits to that. I wonder if you could play some, like, I don't know, death metal, but add in a couple of, like, bells to it, and all of a sudden it's, Christmas death metal.
The Johnny Cash version of Hurt with jingle bells in the background. Oh, we need to do that.
theory.
We need to do that, yeah. God. Anyways, let's ruin Christmas for everyone else, shall we? Yeah, no, this is cool. Overcooked is something that I've never really had anybody else to play with, so I never got into it. But it sounds like something that I could probably play with Logan at some point.
It definitely requires a lot of coordination.
Yeah.
In your efforts.
And I've seen like the Roblox games that he plays, and a lot of them have a very similar kind of, you're in a diner and you got to make, put together food for somebody or something like that. Or he plays like Job Simulator in VR where you've got there's like a diner segment in there where you have to put together food for patrons and stuff. So, he might catch on and do really well at it. Or we might end up hating each other by the end of the night, but I think that's the way Overcooked usually goes.
Well, it starts off very, very easy. Like, very easy.
Yeah.
And then, gradually gets harder. I mean, it does a pretty good job of slowly increasing the difficulty level. So like you could play it with him, and then if you get to the point where you're both just not feeling it anymore, you stop.
Makes sense. Yeah, you got to learn when to stop.
You got to learn when to stop, or
Yeah.
you'll be at each other's throats. But
Right. As soon as you stop having fun, that's when you end the game. Yeah.
That's right.
That's what she said?
Well,
No means no, Joe.
Keep that in mind when the number 69 comes up again.
On the 68th kiss, he's like, no. And then I must stop.
Enough's enough. It's
Yes.
not fun anymore.
No. So the composers, Ollie Wood and Danny Hay, both worked at Team 17. Is this a Team 17 game? Do
Yes,
you
it is.
remember? Okay. Yeah, so Ollie Wood recently left Team 17, I think August of 2021, to become lead sound designer over at Sumo Digital. And Danny Hay, who worked with him, he's gone on to sound design too. So he's over at PlayStation now. He just did sound design. Actually, he just won an award for the sound design in God of War Ragnarok, which is one of the biggest AAA titles out there. So that's pretty cool. And he's also worked on Returnal and Moving Out and The Survivalists while he was over at Team 17. So two guys that are definitely moving up in the industry.
yeah, sounds
For
like
sure. And the music is great, so they obviously have talent for that as well. All right, ready to move on to our next one?
If we must.
All right, so we're going to bring the mood down a little bit. I'm going to play Credit Roll 1 from KONA. This one came out on Blacknut, whatever that is, Linux, Mac, PC, Switch, PS4, Stadia, whatever that is, and Xbox One in 2017. Composed by CuréLabel. They are a French-Canadian band. This is a kind of reminds me a little bit of like the rock songs from Silent Hill. So we'll be right back. All right, that was Credit Roll 1 from KONA, which came out on the short-lived streaming service Blacknut, Linux, Mac, PC, Switch, PS4, Stadia, and Xbox One in 2017, composed by CuréLabel. And they are a French-Canadian rock band from Quebec, which is very fitting because this game takes place in northern Quebec, thus the extremely wintry atmosphere in it. Any thoughts on the music? Curious what you guys thought.
I like the track. I didn't quite get the winter theme from it. The long guitar chords and the fiddle made me think more Western than winter. So maybe it's like, Christmas in Western Quebec.
I think I'm associating the music more with the game, probably, because the game is extremely cold. Plus the kind of Silent Hill connection that the game and the music has also just reminds me of, like, Silent Hill Shattered Memories is all about ice taking over instead of the whole blood and rust thing. So I was kind of pulling cold inspirations from there.
What sort of game is this? I've never played it.
It is part walking simulator, part survival sim, part action game, where you arrive in, like I said, a Quebec town that's more or less abandoned in the middle of a snowstorm, or just after a large snowstorm. And there's been a murder, and your job is basically to figure out what happened leading up to the murder. Kind of like Vanishing of Ethan Carter, if you've ever played that, something like that. And then you piece together clues, and you're part Indigenous Canadian, and you were able to communicate with the spiritual animals and stuff, and kind of see things in the past, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's a combination of, physical detective work and supernaturalism. But you also have to go out into the woods because there's clues out there, and then there's wolves you have to fend off, lighting fires when you get cold, that kind of a thing. So it's survival management plus walking sim plus mystery. It's fun. It's for a walking simulator person like me. I enjoyed it a lot because there was a little bit extra to do besides just the walking sim stuff. For somebody who likes Doom or Quake, you're going to get kind of bored because it's a slower game, but a lot of exposition. I'd recommend
check it out.
Yeah, the graphics are really, really good. It kind of got overtaken by like NVIDIA's whole shader thing, but there was a shader technology called Ansel, after Ansel Adams, the photographer, to make games like look very realistic. And this game was one of the first ones to use that. So the snow looks very realistic, and the lighting is very good. And so a little bit ahead of its time as far as graphics go for 2017. Nice. And kind of a next-gen feel to it. But CuréLabel or CuréLabel, I'm not really 100% sure on how to pronounce it. They are a French-Canadian band. They've been around since 2010. And they are also out of Quebec, so the developers wanted to, find local talent to make the soundtrack. And they don't just perform the songs during the credits roll, they perform the in-game music as well, which is kind of slower and a little more ambient. But the game was funded on Kickstarter. Actually, the developers were brand new, and they only asked for about $40,000 on Kickstarter. So they got that money. They got like $44,000. But they soon realized that $40,000 does not go very far in the game industry. So they said with the $40,000, they would only be able to make about a 5-minute game. They ended up getting backing from the Canadian government for their arts fund to be able to make the game, and then got the rest of the money through pre-orders on Steam. So,
well, that's a lucky break.
Yeah, so it was good. The Kickstarter members still were able to get a very good, not AAA game, but maybe like a single A or AA game for the small amount of money they put in, and it's still for sale now. Runs great on just about everything out there, so check it out. It is fun. It's stressful, but it's fun. But it's very, very cold. Make sure you have some hot chocolate while you're playing for sure. Snow everywhere. All right, Joe, moving on to your second pick. What do we got?
My second track is called Another Winter from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game.
I could just sing the song to you right now.
Released back in 2010 for everything. It originally came out in 2010. It was released for other systems in later years. Composed by Anamanaguchi. Let's have a listen. And we're back. That was Another Winter from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game. Released for everything starting in 2010 and going on for years. Composed by Anamanaguchi. You know that song, you know that game. It's a feel-good. You gotta love that one, right? Come on.
Such a good game. I was nervous that they were never going to bring it back when they took it off of the various digital stores. I don't remember when that was, but it disappeared for quite some time.
Yeah, it was like 2014, 2015, something like that.
I'm not sure why. Was it a licensing thing?
It was a licensing thing.
Yeah.
It was like Universal Pictures or whatever only licensed it for 5 or 6 years or something, and then...
I mean, I had it on my PS3, so like I wasn't in much danger of losing it, but like there was a lot of people that were pissed when that disappeared.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm glad they brought it back.
I'm not usually a fan of beat-em-ups, but I really enjoyed this one, despite the fact that I wasn't very good at it. I made it through a few levels, and then for some reason the game just got the better of me, and I moved on to something else, because, like I said, I don't really get into beat-em-ups. But this one, I love the movie, I love the lore around it, and I love the style of gameplay, and of course the music's amazing, so I had to put this one in.
Yeah, this one kind of kicked off that whole... The Ninja Turtles games, River City Girls, they all had this very similar... I think even River City Underground was kind of similar to this one. Very well animated, kind of shorter, squatter sprites with huge movesets, and this one really kind of set a whole resurgence of beat-em-ups in motion, because for a while there was little to none. And this one, I think, kind of put the genre back on the map. People realized they really loved it. So I was super happy, because I'm a huge fan of beat-em-ups. So I had no problem with this one. And again, just like you told me about my track, Joe, I'm not seeing too much of a winter here, except for the title of the song.
Yeah, it was more of going for the title than the actual sound.
There's a great excuse to play something from the game, too.
So you mean there's no bells in it?
Let's add some. We'll see what it sounds like.
There is snow on the screen while you're listening to the track, so that's enough for me.
Touche. We'll call it even.
All right, ready to move on to the next one?
Let's do it.
All right, Todd.
My second track is called When Did It Get So Cold? This is from Grapple, released on the Switch, Windows, and Xbox just this year, 2022. Composer Jazz Mickle. That was When Did It Get So Cold from Grapple Dog, released on Switch, Windows, Xbox 2022. Composer Jazz Mickle. This is an interesting little side-scrolling platformer, I would say, that has a curious little mechanic that is reminiscent, I would say, of one of Ed's favorite games, Bionic Commando.
Never heard of it.
I actually, I don't think this is a very well-known game, so I actually sort of assumed that Ed didn't know anything about it. I was going to say, hey, you should play this game. But
yeah, I think it was part of a Humble Bundle or something, and I had known about it before, but it might have been on my wish list waiting for it to kind of come down in price, but when I saw it in the bundle, I was like, oh yeah, great excuse to get it, so.
Now, I have to admit, I don't actually know the scenery on which this song gets played. I have not played that much into the game. But given the name, I can make some assumptions.
This must be the wintry excuse to play a non-winter track part of the show. But there were some twinkly synths in there, so I can kind of get a little bit of a winter feel. Great tune, great soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's just got this very kind of dancey, urban, jazzy vibe to the whole thing. There's some house music in the soundtrack, but it's all really kind of slickly produced with hand claps and horns and vocal stabs and stuff. It's a lot of fun.
It is.
I always like unusual percussion sounding, not necessarily just instruments, but sounds. When I was in college, I was part of a percussion ensemble, and we, for a concert one year, a whole bunch of just body-produced sounds, like claps and like stomps and things like that, with really cool, intricate rhythms, and it makes for fun music.
Agreed. And really good video game music, too, I think. There are very few genres of games out there that wouldn't do good with a nice, funky jazz soundtrack, for sure. Jazz Mickle, I don't think, has done any other video games before. I know she's done some work for commercials and like educational videos just from her Twitter. She makes her own games too, and I think she adds soundtracks to those. But the games are like little mini micro games that you might find on like itch.io and stuff like that. Nothing really commercially released. But I did start following her, so hopefully if she comes out with any more game soundtracks, I'll find out.
This could just be the beginning.
Yeah, share some more on the show whenever it happens, because I know it'll be good from what I've heard so far. All right, let's get into some actual real winter music for a change. This is the appropriately titled Slippery Iceland World 4-1 from the classic Jumping Flash, released on the PS1 in 1995, composed by Takeo Miratsu. All right, that was Slippery Iceland World 4-1 from Jumping Flash on the PS1 in 1995, composed by Takeo Miratsu. And like I just told Joe and Todd, I wanted to get as industrial as possible while still maintaining the winter feel. And I do like that, really, like, I think it's a piano line at the beginning. It sounds like a bass line, but it's just the lower notes on a grand piano or something, really pounding out those keys. And then you get the twirly winter twinkles over the top. What'd you guys think?
I enjoyed it. Like I was saying while it was playing, I'm familiar with this game, but I've never actually sat down and played it. So I didn't know the soundtrack too well. But this track is really cool, and I'm going to have to watch some gameplay of it and maybe even download it and play it myself.
Yeah, did you say what kind of game this is?
Well, it's a first-person platforming game where you are inside a robot rabbit. And you can leap, 50, 60, 100 feet up in the air at a time. And most of the worlds are vertical. So you start off at the base of a large cylindrical tower, and there's platforms all over the place. And you have to get from one, basically the bottom to the top each time. And sometimes they might be horizontally, and you just have large gaps to go over. But, as you jump at a set height. But as you jump, you automatically kind of look down because you don't have analog controls, because this is like a launch PS2 game practically. So you look down when you jump so you can kind of figure out where you're going to land. And then there's, shooting elements, and you're hopping around, and it's fun. It's kind of cartoony, way ahead of its time in terms of platforming, because 3D platforming was brand new at this point. And to have such a scale of height along with your running aroundness, wasn't ever done before. So they're still working out the kinks in terms of, jumping and landing and all that stuff. But they did make a sequel to this game, which improved on a lot of those controls.
Interesting.
But it's fun. It's fun to look at as kind of a, this was the dawn of real 3D maneuvering in space kind of a deal.
So you're saying it's ripe for a millennials react to video.
What is this jank? No, it's fun. I never owned the game, but I did rent it at least once or twice when I was a kid, and I always had fun when I played it, except for the freaking ice levels. I just hate ice levels.
Nobody likes ice levels.
Right. So, of course, in this one, you're jumping, and then you're slipping, and then you have narrow platforms that are also ice, so you got to make sure that you land in a way that you're going to slide not off a cliff into the clouds below, but, just to a safe spot. And it just adds that extra level of frustration, and it ends up always being the hardest level for me in a game, even if it's smack dab in the middle. I think there's 8 worlds total, and this is world 4, so pain in the butt. Takeo Miratsu unfortunately passed away in 2006. Before he died, he was working on some Beatmania games for Konami, but he composed the music for all 3 of the Jumping Flash games. It was called Rabbit Mondu or Rabiolipus in Japan. So there was Jumping Flash 1 and 2, and then Rabbit Mondu, which was the 3rd one that was released in Japan that never came over here. So we composed the music for all 3 of them. And they're all really, really good soundtracks, and really underrated soundtracks. I definitely recommend checking them out because they've got really good kind of electronic grooves. They're very old school VGM, but kind of updated to modern Redbook audio standards. So lots of fun. Anyways, let's move on to our next one. Joe, I think this is your last track, right?
Yes. My next/last track is Far Reaches from Iconoclasts, released once again for everything in 2018, composed by Joachim Sandberg.
Yeah, and I think Joachim Sandberg, this was a one-man, a Thomas Happ kind of a deal, where he wrote the music, composed everything, programmed the game, etc., etc.
And we're back. That was Far Reaches from Iconoclasts, released in 2018 for everything. Composed by Joachim Sandberg, who, as we were saying, was a one-man show, kind of like Thomas Happ with Axiom Verge.
Yeah.
He did a little bit of everything. So this game came out in 2018. It's a Metroidvania-style game. It's not completely open world like a lot of them are. There's a little bit more linearity to it. But this game is a blast to play. It's got a sense of humor to it as you get into the story and you learn the characters. The main character is an engineer, and her primary weapon is a wrench that she uses to like tighten gears or find pieces of like nuts and bolts to open doors and things like that, so that you can progress and to get into the next area. It's a kind of a slightly different mechanic than a lot of the other action platformer Metroidvanias that I get into, and I really like this one. It also has a ton of boss fights. I think that was one of the selling points in the trailer, was that it has like 25 boss fights or something like that for a, like 20-hour game.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And each one has, a different timing mechanism and a different gimmick to it. So it's a lot of fun to play, very satisfying to progress in. Only problem is that it was released physically by Limited Run as one of their early physical releases. So unless you buy it digital, it's going to cost quite a bit, I think, to buy physical now for either...
to buy it from like a reseller.
Yeah. But if you're trying to get it for PlayStation or Switch, I haven't looked it up recently, but I'm guessing it's going to be one of the more expensive ones.
And probably dirt cheap on Steam, so...
Yeah. So, buy it digital. It's a great game, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll run like great on Steam Deck. It's a relatively simple title.
Absolutely.
So, great tune. Very, very pretty tune. Very big difference from the Jumping Flash tune that we just played. So this plays in kind of like a winterish area, I'm assuming?
It's another, faraway mountaintop, all the way at one distant side of the world map, far from everything, and it takes forever to get to, but you need to get to the very top so you can get the item, basically.
Makes sense.
Kind of area. So it's what you would expect it to be, but the music is apropos to, what we're doing here today.
Yeah.
So I picked this one because I love the game, and I thought it was a cool track.
Absolutely. Any experience with this one, Todd?
Not with the game, no. But this track, does anybody else? This track for me was heavily reminiscent of the song that plays in the Seventh Guest during cutscenes. Does anybody remember?
Oh, yeah.
That's the only thing that I could think of while we were listening to that.
Okay.
That little like plucky sort of, I don't
It's like chamber music almost, but a little more modern.
And that like Seventh Guest is the only thing that I can think of listening to this song. Maybe that's just me, but I mean, I have fond memories of Seventh Guest, so for that reason,
I totally can see that association. That's really funny. As we said before, Joachim Sandberg is a do-it-all-yourself kind of a developer. They have also created the games Legend of Princess, Chalk, Noi 2 Love and the Army of Grinning Darns, and the sequel to that game, Noi 2 Love 2 Devolution, and I think Iconoclasts is the most recent game put out. He calls his studio Konjac Studios, which is basically just him. So he creates all the music. If you go to konjac.org, you can take a look at screenshots from the games, get download links, samples of the music, and then he also does art. So he's got fan art of like Samus and Zelda and Mario characters and stuff, and he's a really good artist. So I'm assuming the pixel art and the animation is pretty good on this game?
It's phenomenal. It's really, really solid. A blast to look at and play through, and yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
I've never heard of any of those other games. I'm going to have to look those up.
Yeah, just head over to his website, and if you go to the document I created for the show, I listed it right below his name.
Yeah,
so
cool.
That'll be a reminder to you. All right, moving on to Todd's last track. What have we got?
My last track, you seem to have added a little thing in here. I saw it as Frigid Hell on YouTube, but you have it listed as Depths of Despair from Bloodstained Curse of the Moon. This was released on Switch, 3DS, PS4, Vita, Windows, Xbox in 2018. Composer Ippo Yamada.
Yeah, I saw the YouTube link that you had posted calls this Frigid Hell, but then if you get the actual game OST, the same song is under Depths of Despair. So I'm not sure Frigid Hell might be the name of the level. I don't know. Anyways, let's take a listen. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back. That was we'll just go with Depths of Despair from Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, Switch, 3DS, PS4, Vita, Windows, Xbox, 2018. Composer Ippo Yamada. I guess this is my track that doesn't like have a specific winter or holiday or cold necessarily sound to it, but it does play in an ice cave in the game, so I did verify that.
Yes. So location is appropriate.
Location appropriate.
Therefore it qualifies.
Track, so it qualifies for this episode.
Good track. I know the game follows more of an NES aesthetic, but I think the music follows more of a Game Boy, possibly even like a TurboGrafx sound. Especially with that kind of fuzzy bass, you don't really get that on NES. You get that more on like a Game Boy.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Wavetable channel.
But the game is brutally hard. It definitely tries to follow the original Castlevania Nintendo hard sort of trope, and it does a pretty good job of it.
Oh, for sure.
Does it have huge knockback?
It's an option. You can optionally have knockback, like when you're hit, be knocked back or not.
Who would voluntarily do that? Like turn knockback on? And what I'm envisioning when you say that is every time you get hit, a little message pops up, do you want knockback? You're like, sure, why not?
Will I fall down a chasm? No? Okay.
It's for speedrunning purposes, actually. If you've watched original Castlevania speedruns, they rely on knockback to get to places they couldn't otherwise reach.
Right.
So I imagine that for speedrunners of the game, it would be very valuable.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Only the hardcorest of the hardcore.
Those crazy speedrunners.
Yeah.
I bought this game sight unseen after seeing I saw the trailer, but without having actually played the game, I bought it, and I wanted to love it, and I enjoyed it, but it was too hard for me, so I wasn't able to beat this one, unfortunately. But I am glad I own it because the soundtrack's amazing.
I think if I remember correctly, I beat it, but on like the easiest setting with no knockback and all that, just to get through it. But I mean, I enjoyed it, but I agree with you. Its difficulty is pretty much off the charts.
Almost to the point where it ceases to be fun, where, if you die, you get pushed back so far that it frustrates you from wanting to try again.
Right.
And I remember getting to a point with this game where I just rage quit and said, all right, moving on.
Yeah, sounds like something that I would just watch a playthrough of and not even worry about trying to play it.
I appreciate it for what it is. It's great. It was beyond me to beat it.
Oh, by the way, you guys need to thank me because I didn't play a Vampire Survivors tune this time around. Because the new DLC
Are there even winter tracks in Vampire
Well, the new
Survivors?
DLC they just released yesterday as of this recording. The new level they released is a winter-themed,
Oh, man.
like snowy Japan level. So
Well, it would be new to me because I haven't played it.
yeah.
He also didn't pick anything from SnowRunner, which, I don't know, seems like
Yeah,
it
that
would have
kinda
been
seems like-
appropriate.
Yeah, I thought about that too, but I figured there were some good tracks from other games that I wanted to share. Keep the SnowRunner stuff for, I don't know, Embassy exclusive or whatever. But there haven't been any recent snow levels that have come out for SnowRunner either, so
No snow levels in SnowRunner.
there are some, but not all. Yes.
You might think.
Yeah. Well, it's a sequel to Mud Runner, so I don't know. Anyways, we're getting a little off topic. Ippo Yamada is an old school video game music composer. He started off in the mid-90s on the SNES era. His first title was Super Street Fighter II, the SNES version. Went on to like Mega Man X2, Demon's Crest, Mega Man 7, Mega Man 9 and 10, the Mega Man Zero series, Galgun. Once he left Capcom and went to Inti Creates, Azure Striker Gunvolt, Blaster Master Zero, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, and Ritual of the Night, Blaster Master Zero 2, and Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2 hasn't come out yet, right?
Yeah,
it's out.
that's been out for a
Yeah.
while.
Oh, has it? Oh, okay. Well, he was also the composer on that one as well. Shows you how into the Bloodstained series I am. Yeah, great composer. Obviously knows what he's doing with chiptunes, so that's why this sounds like such a well-composed, put-together track. Ready to move on to our last track of the night?
Ready?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get shot by some bullets on ice from Marble Saga Koro Rinpa. This was a 2009 Wii release, a very rare game composed by Hironobu Yahata. That was Bullets on Ice from Marble Saga Koro Rinpa, released on the Wii in 2009, composed by Hironobu Yahata. Very attentive listeners might remember his name from the last episode. Yahata composed a lot of the Mario Party games for Nintendo, as well as Frogger Ancient Shadow and Bomberman Blast in 2008. So this was... I guess he must have left Nintendo and went on to... I don't remember the company that made Marble Saga, but this was released in 2009, so it was shortly after his last Nintendo game. Anyways, fun title and fun little track. It's got like kind of a Carol of the Bells feel going on in the background and some fun wintry stuff going on up front. Joe, you were grooving to it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking I got to listen to the rest of the soundtrack... possibly under the influence of some substances.
Some holiday cheer.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be a really fun thing to listen to.
Lots of wow.
Yeah, there's a very round kind of a wow bass going on there. Some twarp. Not like Genesis twarp, but modern twarp, I guess.
It does bring back memories of playing this nutty game.
It's a fun game. It's a lot of fun. Logan really likes it. You know, Logan did that Marble game episode way back in the day when he was... I don't know, 6 or 7 years old. So he was really into this at that point. I think we might have shared a track from the original game on that show, or it might have been this one. I don't remember which one, but he was really digging it. It plays kind of like, I guess, Monkey Ball, but from a side view instead, where you're kind of tilting the level to get a marble through a maze, and there's, you know, active traps. But you're not trying to collect like bananas and stuff. You're just trying to get, I think, 1 or 2 stars along the way down to the bottom to get the best score for the level. But graphics are great. The level design is fantastic. The control feels really good with the Wiimote. This was just a really, really good game.
I haven't given the Wii any love in a long time. Maybe I should.
I haven't either. For a while when I was playing Wii, I was playing it on the emulator on the computer because it works really well. And there's a way to just use your Wii remotes on the computer. So, I don't know, maybe I'll give that a try too.
Really? I don't think I've ever seen that setup. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's an emulator called Dolphin. It does GameCube and Wii games, and does them really, really well. You can upscale them, make them widescreen and stuff, too.
I didn't know Dolphin did Wii. I knew it was GameCube,
Yep.
but I didn't realize... And it's compatible with the motion controls.
Absolutely.
Oh.
As long as you have a Bluetooth adapter that is compatible with the Wii remotes, yeah.
Oh,
and
cool. I'm going to check
use
that
motion
out.
and everything, too. You just have to get one of those, like, battery-operated or USB-powered sensor bars to put on top of your monitor.
I feel like that'd be worth it, though, because I haven't dug my Wii out in...
Can't you just use a couple of candles?
You can use infrared lights, sure. They just have to be like exactly the right amount of space apart that the sensor bar is, so that I can calibrate it correctly. But it should work. Yeah, plus it plays all the WiiWare games, so if you can get all the WiiWare ROMs,
Oh, neat.
then you can get the full selection of that too, as well as virtual console games. So, anyways,
check that out.
yeah, great game. It's rare but not very expensive from what we learned. So you can still, price charting charts it at about $11, so if you want to go out and find it, you can definitely do that. But the three of us were talking, and Todd, you have it in your collection, but I don't think I've ever seen it in the wild anywhere. So there's a possibility that it might catch on. So all it takes is one YouTuber to call it a hidden gem.
Yeah, right.
And suddenly everybody's clamoring for it, and the price goes up like 4 times. So,
Way to corner the market, Ed.
hey, I don't own it either, so
Check out this hidden gem on the Wii.
yay!
Who is it that does that? It's that guy Metal Jesus.
Metal,
right?
yeah, Metal Jesus rocks. Yep. Yeah, he's actually kind of manipulated the market quite a bit with those.
To his own gain, probably.
Maybe, I don't know. But there's definitely a relationship between some YouTubers and game prices, for sure. Anyways, Bullets on Ice, obviously there's an ice level, and obviously your marble gets slippery. And obviously I'm throwing my Wii remote at the wall because of it, so it's no secret that I dislike ice levels intently, but I really love ice music in games. And I was thinking before we recorded that it's really funny, like, lots of VGM podcasts do winter episodes, but nobody does like a spring episode or a summer episode and I think it's because winter levels are fewer and farther between, and they are always the ones that change the gameplay more than the other ones do. Like, lots of games take place in summer, and it's just like, oh yeah, there's green grass and trees, and you're walking around. But when it's an ice level, it throws it in your face. Yes, this is cold, it's an ice level. You're trudging through snow and or sliding off of gaps into giant crevasses, like your mom. Anyways.
Oh, you went there. He was talking to you, Todd.
Yes, like your collective mom's crevasses. Anyways, there's a sentence that's never been said before.
All your collective mom's crevasses.
Man, oh man. So like I said at the beginning of the show, some great tunes in this episode. I don't think there was a single stinker at all. Either of you guys learn of any new tracks or games that you're interested in checking out?
What was that?
Anything memorable?
KONA. I think I'm going to check
Yeah,
that.
I think you'll like it a lot.
I'd never heard of that one either. I think that's going to be really cool.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out. And like I said, I think I've been pretty familiar. Well, Iconoclast, I think, is something that I definitely do want to check out. And CrossCode, too. Both of those games are games that I thought were more RPG-ish than you're saying they are. I didn't realize that CrossCode was more of a action RPG, so...
It's definitely, I'll say, Secret of Mana meets Zelda, like Todd said.
Yeah.
The puzzles are very difficult. At least I found them to be difficult. Not button pushing wise, but like to solve them. To go through all the rooms in the right order, to light all the torches in the right order, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
I found it to be incredibly difficult. Iconoclast, on the other hand, is not really difficult. You do have to learn and get good with the controls, but it's not... Well, I was able to beat the latter, but not the former. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, I like a good puzzle, so we'll see how that goes. But maybe that might be a game to put on my list for 2023 for sure. All right, wrapping up the show, I'd like to thank, of course, Trevin Hughes for the amazing theme song and Indira J for all the VGMbassy artwork. You can find the three of us on Embassy Exclusive. We do a monthly show where the three of us get together and chat about modern video game topics, gripes we have with Nintendo.
That's fair.
You know, we play some music and then we have some fun. We take questions from our patrons and we read their answers on the show and comment on them, and we have a blast.
Plus the snacks.
Exactly. So you can head over to patreon.com/thevgembassy. For a minimum $3 a month, you get an extra bonus show with the three of us having a fun time and talking about games and game music. So I definitely recommend checking that out. At the end of every episode, I do like to thank all of my patrons at Artura's level, Cameron Childs, and the Phantomire. At our VGMbassy tier, Chris Murray, Chris Myers, Gannon11, Kyle Kroll, The Dyad, and Daryl Bowers, the Last Rican. At our audio attaché level, Cameron Worma, Carlito from the Heroes 3 podcast, and Scott McElhone. Our special agent tier, Keycliff and Ryan Steele. And our VGMbassy tier, Frankly Zappa. Unfortunately, Alex the Messenger has had some financial trouble and is no longer a patron saint of the BGM podcasts. But I do want to take this opportunity to thank Alex profusely for all of the support he's given to all of the BGM podcasts over the years. He is staying on as an honorary Patreon member, so he will still be hanging out in the Patreon lounge, still having access to all of the Embassy exclusive tracks and podcasts, because I don't think this show would be where it was without his support from literally day one. So thank you very much, Alex. If you ever choose to come back to any support tiers, we would welcome you with open arms, but of course there's no obligation to do that whatsoever. And that being said, there's another opening in the VG Ambassador tier if anyone is interested in filling that, so feel free. You can also find us on Twitter at the VG Embassy or on Instagram at the VG Embassy. You can also email us at thevgembassy@gmail.com. Like I said, if you're on Patreon but you're not in my Discord and you have any ideas for a patron submission show where you want to send in some tracks, any ideas for a theme for that show, you can email me at thevgembassy@gmail.com. All right, so we will have an Embassy exclusive with the three of us coming out around New Year's and January, February, March. We've got some great shows lined up. I think I got one with Justin from XVGM Radio. I got a solo show coming up. I got one with The Last Rican coming up, so should be a blast. And then, of course, the one with the three of us coming up as well. So 4 great shows to look forward to. Thank you guys for hanging out with me and eating some cookies and drinking some coffee.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the cookies.
Yeah, ditto.
You are welcome, and thank you for being here, as always, and we'll see you guys soon, and we'll see you listeners in a month with another episode of the VGMbassy. Have a great Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Yuletide, Festivus, and New Year. We'll be back in January.
Way to cover everything.
Yes, I'm trying. Good night, everyone.
See ya.